your mastering sucks. Well, maybe not yours, but somebody's mastering sucks, because these are things I hear on new masters which make me cringe. I'm listening to the radio, I'm listening to a playlist, and everything's sounding good. Then one song comes on and I'm thinking, how the hell did the mastering engineer sign off on this? How the hell did this get onto the final master? So that's what we're going to talk about today, and I'm going to show you exactly how you can fix it up if you're making any of these mistakes or you're trying to navigate these in your own sessions. The first one is shonky low end, or too much processing in the low end. Typically, everybody's after tight low end, tight, big low end, which is cool. Sometimes the mixers don't allow for it. Sometimes the biggest and the best low end happens from not doing anything at all to the low end itself. In fact, everything we do in mastering is via perception. So what I want to do is listen to this passage and then think, how can we make the low end sound bigger without doing anything to the low end? This is going to be fun because this is all about yin and yang EQ. Take a listen.
For a nice pay to get the shit laid, might as well stay. I mean, she nervous round class, she ain't from round time, but love to get down. She heard of that sound, got lost and then found she like it like wow. She nervous round class, she ain't from round time, but love to.
You know what it is? You know what I'm hearing? It's that upbeat hi-hat from 6 kilohertz and up. It's very bright, it's very open, it's not very loud, it's not obnoxiously loud. However, if we tame that, if we pull that back a little bit, relatively speaking, the low end's going to feel bigger. So what I've got here is one with the top end down 2 decibels, and then level match by bringing it up 0.3 decibels, and it makes the low end feel so much bigger by just tucking that top end down a little bit, and the low end has no dynamic processing, nothing else to it. It's still its natural punchy self. Take a listen to this before and after.
For a nice pay to get the shit laid, might as well stay. I mean, she nervous round class, she ain't from round time, but love to get down. She heard of that sound, got lost and then found she like it like wow. She nervous round class, she ain't from round time, but love to get down. She heard of that sound, got lost and then found she poppin' like for a nice pay.
Now, that's an extreme example. Maybe -1 decibel on that top end would help the low end be bigger. Does it need to be bigger? No, it's actually a really good balance for a mix. But this is one trick you can use working with the top end, the very upper frequencies, to affect the way we hear the low end frequencies. So that way you can have a nice open big low end without too much processing going on, compromising. The next one is pumpy compression or limiting. You have this really great song, this good production, the musicality is great, and then you're listening on the radio and the song hits the chorus and everything just starts squishing and ducking and moving in a weird way. Use a compressor with a delta signal. This is a no-brainer. This is for free, and what I want to do is show you how what we're going to do is we're going to monitor this peak crest value in delta, and you'll hear how much of the body in between the transients get captured versus when we shift it to more peak compression, how much of the peaks get captured, and then we can listen to both styles of the compression to make a musical decision or intellectual decision about how to apply compression to this signal.
To get the shit laid, might as well stay. I mean, she nervous round class, she ain't from round time, but love to get down. She heard of that sound, got lost and then found she.
See, when it's more further on the right-hand side, those large synth hits make the compression pump a lot more, which isn't very good.
For a nice pay to get the shit laid, might as well stay. I mean, she nervous round class, she ain't from round time, but love to get down. She heard of that sound.
Whereas when it's more on the peak version, so we're going -2 decibels there, we're getting more even amount of transient and body getting compressed. Even though there's a lot of compression, it's more even. So now what we'll do is we'll listen to one where the peak crest is plus 11.6 decibels and one where it's -2. And the thing is, when we listen to the delta one, this version here, those big synth hits were ducking the signal a lot. We're getting a lot of it in the delta, so it's going to sound a bit more pumpy. Whereas if we listen to this other version, where we've got the peak crest down, -2, it's going to sound more consistent and smooth. Still going to be doing about -1 to -2 decibels of compression, so the same overall amount of gain reduction, but one is going to be more smoother for the material because we've listened to what it's taking away versus the other version. So let's have a listen now.
For a nice pay to get the shit laid, might as well stay. I mean, she nervous round class, she ain't from round time, but love to get down. She heard of that sound, got lost and then found she like it like wow. She nervous round class, she ain't from round time, but love to get down. She heard of that sound, got lost and then found she poppin' like for a nice pay to get the shit laid, might as well stay. I mean, she nervous round class, she ain't from round time, but love to get down. She heard of that sound, got lost and then found she like like it like wow.
Yeah, so even though there's definitely more compression on this B version, it actually sounds better than the A version where you've got less compression going on, but it's pumping a lot, whereas this particular signal path, this gain reduction circuit path is more consistent, it's more smooth, it's more even, it's more musical for this particular mix. So use your delta signals. If you've got isotope ozone 11, it is got delta signals on every module, so there's no excuse for not listening to how it's affecting the material to dial in everything to perfection. Another thing that gets me is out of focus upper mid. So what will happen is there's a lot of low mids, so it's quite a heavy song, and then they've boosted the air so it's nice and bright, but then the upper mids, where all that presence is, has been sort of like scooped, or it's loose in their dynamics. The energy's not there. And for good contemporary modern music, your upper mids have to be very strong, very consistent in the face of the listener. Here's a little trick you can do with Dyne 1 to get the upper mids just bang into the face of the listener. So basically what we're going to use is we're going to use Bob Katz's tonalization strong, everything at -20. So this is parallel compressing all these bands individually. And on this upper mid band, we're going to listen to it and we're going to bring it up overall in comparison to the other bands. So let's take a listen here.
She ain't from right time, but love to get down. She heard of that sound, got lost in that found. She like it like wow. She nervous round crowd, she ain't.
Listen to the vocal. Listen to like the throat of the vocal, that sort of edginess. It comes out really nicely and naturally without distorting the overall balance of the mix. So take another listen.
For a nice pay to get the shit laid, might as well stay. She nervous round crowd, she ain't from right time, but love to get down. She heard of that sound, got lost in that found. She like it like wow. She nervous round crowd, she ain't from right time, but love to get down.
Probably a little bit over the top here, but it's an easy way to manipulate that upper mids without having some of the limitations you would get in an EQ where it's a static sort of just curve up in the top and things start getting harsh. This just compresses everything and then brings it up underneath that band, which is just the piece de resistance. I use this a lot, Leapwing Dyne 1. Okay, this doesn't really apply for this song because there's not much sibilance here, but sibilance in general coming through on a master super loud grinds my gears. You're listening to this beautiful song and then all you start listening to your ear, you're in the car, you're driving, and then you're hearing every fucking second word, and it kills me. Quick ways to get rid of it, okay? This is what you do. You get stabilizer, okay, by ozone. Okay, you go cut mode when it loads. Come on, load for me, yeah? So you go cut mode, get rid of the lows, get rid of the highs, just have the high frequency and bump that up, and that will tame 90% of most general sibilance in a master really well. Can't show it as an example, which is annoying because this doesn't have any sibilance in this song, but this is like 99% of the time will work. Trust me on it. But yeah, do not have sibilance on your masters when they go out. That is just horrible. Even if it means you have to spend hours going through and manually editing every single sibilance on the stereo and automating the EQ for it, do it. You know why? Because you are the mastering engineer on the project. You should not allow shit to leave your table. So get your ass in gear and do whatever it takes to make sure that sibilance is off the record. There's no excuse for it. Simple as that. The next one, this especially goes for like rock tracks, and some mastering engineers just suck at it because they think they have to scoop the low mids to get rid of the mud. And what ends up happening is this weak ass bitch low mid. Okay? That's where all the weight, that's where all the gut, that's where the fatness is in all your synths, in all your guitars. They scoop it. However, I've found this really cool trick with the Michelangelo EQ, okay, which I've been using recently, and it makes things fat and heavy, and like it's just gonna, it's literally like somebody coming along and sucker punching you in the gut. It is fat, all right? Take a look at this. There's no excuse for weak-ass bitch low mids anymore, okay? Here's what we do. We make sure that we dial this into the body and we bring this down, this mid-frequency down to about like the 300s. Then we drive this range instead of the transient, just the body. The important thing is when we dial this in, what we're going to do is we're going to change the sensitivity. So the transient light meter is only coming in when the transients are, and the rest of the body gets the EQ. So let's dial this in.
Going for a nice pay to get the shit laid, might as well stay. She nervous round class, she ain't from round town, but love to get down. She heard of that sound, got lost and then found she like it like wow. She nervous round class, she ain't from round town, but love to get down. She heard of that sound, got lost and then found she poppin' like going for a nice pay to get the shit laid, might as well stay. She nervous round class, she ain't from round town, but love to get down. She heard of that sound, got lost and then found she like it like wow. She nervous.
That's how I dial it in. It's as simple as that. As long as you got the body driving a bit and you boost it a bit and then you compress it a bit, it's a bit silly to say it like that. Let me slow down a bit here. You want to make sure the body of the signal is getting this EQ boost, okay? You want to drive it a little bit harder to get harmonics. And then, because you want to keep the relative balance somewhat to the original of the mix, I compress it back down to unity. So it's getting that boost on the body, and then when it's getting a little bit hot, a little bit driven, it's just backing it back down so it doesn't get too loud in the low mids. And now what we'll do is we'll A-B this and take a listen.
Going for a nice pay to get the shit laid, might as well stay. She nervous round class, she ain't from round town, but love to get down. She heard of that sound, got lost and then found she like it like wow. She nervous round class, she ain't from round town, but love to get down. She heard of that sound, got lost and then found she poppin' like.
It just makes the low mids warm and big and fat. Granted, you can overdo this, but there's no excuse for weak-ass low mids, okay? No excuse. I don't care what you're saying, oh, it's sounding muddy or this, that, the other. Figure it out. Or if you get a thin-sounding mix and you don't want to boost the low mids, this is such a great way to do it because it just captures the body, okay? No excuse for weak-ass masters, all right? Oh, no. Why did I write this one down? No smack on the drops. This one, my soul dies a little bit every time I'm listening to an awesome EDM track, all right? And the drop's building up. It's building up. It's building up. It's building up. The drop does not slap because it is so over squashed on that first downbeat. You don't feel it. And you're like, what the hell? All that beautiful energy in the production, and then you're hitting the drop and it's like, what the hell is going on? Why? Simple. And every EDM producer knows how to do this, so there's no excuse for a mastering engineer to not have this in their arsenal. And it's simple. It's like, oh, here's the drop. Let's just ride some automation here. Boom. Get that section there, have the volume fader, bring it down a bit. Boom. However you need to do it, like that. That's not actually how you would do it. That's a bit dodge. Let's go here. You bring it down. I don't know why it's doing that, but you bring it down so it gradually comes down over the verse, and then when it's the chorus, it just pops up. Simple, simple. You should know that one. Now, in mastering, there's this big obsession with color and tone and harmonics. So it's great to have these tools at your availability, whether it's through clipping or saturators or emulation. But something I hear often, this isn't something I can show you as a technique, but it's just a word of advice, is that saturation and harmonic exciters and clippers all add harmonics, and harmonics are frequencies, multiples of the fundamental, above the fundamental. So what ends up happening is you get a harmonically rich signal, but then relatively, because there are more frequencies in the upper registers, your low end starts to sound weaker. So I hear masters on the radio and they're so saturated that the low end feels weak. Okay, so just be careful when you're using any sort of analog emulations or harmonic saturators or exciters or clippers. The more you do of it, the more harmonics you introduce higher up in the frequency range, the more frequencies there are competing with the low end. So there's this sort of balance you're going to have because you don't want your low end to feel super weak because you've added all this harmonic excitement to it. It can sound thick, it can sound loud, but then you don't get that chesty body out of the low end anymore. And when you try to compensate for it, it sounds a little bit off. And the final one is adding air for shine. Okay, so this is like, oh, I need more air. I need more air. So everybody just adds, they do this like sort of, where's my Sontec 432? They do this sort of thing where they're like, oh, we need more air. Let's just crank the shit out of the top end there. Okay. That isn't always going to be more air. Remember at the start of this, how we said we want to manage our low end. We want to have a bigger low end, so bring the top end down. You can do the exact same thing with the lowest octaves of your sub. So we're not going to do it here. We're going to go back to good old Pro Q3. Where are you, Pro Q3? Here you are, baby. We'll go to a B version. We'll just get rid of this. And what we're going to do is let's level match a high pass filter and have a listen to how it affects the top end. We're going to bring this at about 30 Hertz, which is pretty high, but it does help introduce a more open top end. I'm not saying this is the solution all the time, but we should always consider how manipulating our low end will affect our top end and vice versa, our top end for our low end. So let me level match this quickly and then we'll A/B. Right, so let's take a listen. So this is going to be before and then after. And what I want you to do is listen to the very top end, just the very highest air whisper, that nice little bit at the top of the hi-hats and how they open up when you start to roll off some of those sub-frequencies.
For a nice pay to get the shit laid, might as well stay. She nervous around class, she ain't from right down below to get down. She heard that sound, got lost and then found she like it like wow. She nervous around class, she ain't from right down below to get down. She heard that sound, got lost and then found she pop it like.
It's super subtle. It's a super subtle way to do it, and this is like a 0.05% change to the overall master, but it's one of those micro changes that across a series of changes in your master chain can make a large difference. So with that said, let's bitch and moan together. What are things that you hear when you hear new music that you go, how the hell did that end up on the final master? And what I want you to do is like, share, subscribe. Make sure you subscribe because I've got some really cool videos of sessions coming up in the future. I'm just waiting for the tracks to get released, then I can share the videos with you because I got like really cool, quirky mixes and masters which I want to share with you. So make sure you subscribe. And until next time, take care.